ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਸੋਨੀਆ ਚੰਦ ਸੰਧੂ ਜੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ SBI ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ PNB ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਹੈ, ਬ੍ਰਾਂਚ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਹੈ, ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ HDFC ICICI ਬੈਂਕ। ਜਨਰਲੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਬੈਂਕ ਬਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੱਛਾ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਬੈਂਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਬੀ ਲੋਨ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਐਂਡ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੈਂਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ HDFC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ PNB ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ, ਸੋ ਵੀ ਨੋ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੈਂਕ PO ਦਾ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਸੋ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਾਂ ADB ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸੋਨੀਆ ਜੀ ਦਾ। Yeah. So basically, we will start कि ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਕੂਲਿੰਗ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ?
First of all, thank you, Amarjot. Thank you so much. Sat Sri Akal. And yeah, very important and very pertinent questions. But before that, I want to really appreciate jira kam tarakki kar rahi hai, and getting down to grassroots level, and this opportunity to talk to students. So I'm really grateful for that, Amarjot. Thank you so much. Yeah, schooling and bank. Long time and easy answers but not so easy also. So schooling ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਬੰਬੇ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ। ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਮੁੰਬਈ ਨੂੰ ਬੰਬੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ। So that was part of growing up and high school, and then I came to study architecture in Chandigarh. In Chandigarh College of Architecture, which is also my Nanka's, and so it was very nice to come back. Chandigarh, as you know, is one of India's first planned cities.
Yes.
So I got I feel fortunate to have studied in a college which was actually designed by Le Corbusier, and it was Chandigarh was a city which Pandit Nehru wanted to establish as free India, and the college was run on that principle. So it was very, very good study. But the question on journey to World Bank, so very fast forward from Chandigarh College of Architecture to World Bank. It's been a journey.
Yeah, we can talk about that in steps.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I just wanted to give our audience a viewpoint ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ
ਹਾਂ
ਕਰਾਂਗੇ।
ਤੇ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਕਾਲਜ ਆਫ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਚਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ।
ਓਕੇ।
ਐਨਵਾਇਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਿੰਗ। ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਐਨਵਾਇਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ from the US, at that time it was E for environment. ਲੋਕੀ ਸਮਝ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਵੀ environment ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, and lot of legislations were coming out. It was an exciting field, and I was in the US. I think it was right time, and I could make the connection between that field for advanced study and what I had studied in architecture college, where my focus was mostly on planning.
Okay. So when it comes to selection of college and course, then how did you select CCA? Another thing is ki what did you study in your class 11th and 12th so that you get into that field?
Yeah. So as I said, in Bombay, when I was studying in high school, it used to be called junior college. The curriculum at that time was very simply bracketed into science, which meant you study all sciences.
Okay.
Or you study accounts, or you study arts.
Oh.
So the selection was determined. I was studying science because that's how my interest area was. So I studied physics, chemistry, math, and bio.
Okay, so it was by default super science,
It
which
was
we
super
call
science.
today.
Yes,
Yeah.
in today's language you will know better. But I wanted to become a doctor, and I wanted to join a medical college. I think I worked very hard, but obviously not hard enough that I did not get admission into medical college in Maharashtra, in Bombay. And so of course engineering was always an option, but at that time when I was introduced to architecture, it was very exciting. And I have always been fascinated. I love to I think drawing is a very small word. I'm a visual person in a way, so I like to capture things. I always had this interest, and when I got this exposure to architecture, I was very excited. I said, this is very different. It's not typical physics, chemistry, math. Oh, new world is opening up. ते मेरी एडमिशन पेक में भी हो गई थी in electronics, and
Okay.
I let that go because I thought I will be very excited with architecture. That's a decision which if I had to take again, I would not have taken. But
Okay.
I'm saying that not negatively, but I know
Yeah.
students are listening, and I think it's important to share that decision making process also.
Yeah, we meet a lot of students who have interest in drawing, and then they say, I want to take architecture because I love drawing, but they are two different
They are
things.
two different things.
Yeah.
Yes.
ਸੋ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਹੂ ਆਰ
Yeah.
ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪੋਰਟਰੇਟਸ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡਰਾਇੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਹੈ, ਸਕੈਚਿੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਹੈ, ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਚਰ ਇਜ਼ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਦੈਨ ਦਿਸ ਡਰਾਇੰਗ ਥਿੰਗ.
Architecture is a blend of science, engineering, and finance. It's a beautiful study. I by no means want to say that you should not follow architecture, but it's a tough profession. Let me leave it at that.
ਓਕੇ, ਸੋ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ?
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਸਾ ਬੈਕਗ੍ਰਾਉਂਡ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਆਈ ਸ਼ੁੱਡ ਗਿਵ
ਯੈਸ,
ਕਿ
ਵਾਟ ਇਜ਼ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ?
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੀ when I was
Okay.
studying environment engineering in the
Mhm.
US, and my environment engineering sort of exposure and why I started studying ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ context ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, because environment engineering was offered out of the civil engineering department.
ਓਕੇ.
They going from architecture to civil engineering, we are all, you are also engineer, you will appreciate. I had to go back and study a few things, but not too much, but like things like hydraulics, etc., which I just had to know. You cannot go into engineering college without that, so some prerequisites were done. It was not an easy transition, but in my mind that was a transition because I associated what I learned in architecture and urban planning to what I would study in terms of water resources and how water is managed and how the world sort of develops, and all these physiological and biological processes. But it was a very exciting program. And when I was studying that, actually I was based in at University of Maryland College Park, which is really the hub of all of this multilateral development organizations, and that is one part of where World Bank is housed, right? So I was fortunate to get exposure ki what is a World Bank, like what do they do. It is not really an institution which is like you mentioned rightly, it is not like the State Bank. So but same but different. To keep it very simple for students, these organizations give loans to countries
Okay.
to develop, and
Okay.
develop means build infrastructure, build institutions. By institutions we mean also strengthen capacity of government to do things better.
Okay.
Infrastructure, building roads, building dams, building schools. Now not just building but also maintaining, helping the system develop better. And India is also a big member of the World Bank. It benefits from that. So these institutions were created after World War II, when the world was, you will now, all the students will Google World War II, how these institutions were created. The world had to develop again. United Nations was born at that time, so World Bank is also part of the United Nations. And I was so fascinated by this whole area of development. And what I felt at that time, I cannot even begin to express. I applied for a very small summer internship program. It was I'm saying small because for me, it was a small thing, but it was leading me to a very big sort of opening such a big pathway. And I wanted to see what was the exciting part. The exciting part was that you will be in a small way part of very big change. And I think that was what was exciting for me. So World Bank at the time was doing a lot of work in in infrastructure, and they were inviting students. I'm just trying to keep this really simple. They were inviting students to be part of these internship programs.
Okay.
Um, Essentially, World Bank used to have a lot of economists. They still do,
Okay.
because finance is what the world, how the world moves,
Yes.
right? Money flows, but with money, where does the money go in
Mhm.
infrastructure? So that's how the engineering part. There was an opening for engineering students,
Okay.
and that's how I applied. I got selected. My environment engineering program was very multi-dimensional. I was studying everything that civil engineers will do with water, with land, and with air.
Okay.
And I did multiple courses in infrastructure planning, in air pollution management
Mhm.
under mechanical engineering department, and water resource management, and bioremediation technologies under civil engineering department. So
Okay.
that's how the environment came together for me. And because I had a background in architecture school and urban planning, for me that was coming together in that
Mhm.
way. And I could then contribute to the technical divisions of the World Bank.
Okay. Yeah. So basically ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਿੰਪਲ
ਹਾਂ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇੱਕ ਲਾਈਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਰਲਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੋਨ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਨਾਟ ਜਸਟ ਲੋਨ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਬਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਵੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਂਡ ਮੇਨਟੇਨਿੰਗ ਦੈਟ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੇ ਫॉर ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਇਫ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਵੀਂ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਕੋਈ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਉੱਤੇ ਬਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਉਹ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਫॉर ਨੈਕਸਟ 50-100 ਇਅਰਸ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੇਨਟੇਨ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸਿਸ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ, ਕਿਹੜਾ ਮਟੀਰੀਅਲ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਬੈਂਕਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਲੋਨ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸੋ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਇਜ਼ ਅ ਮਚ ਬਿਗਰ ਪਲੇਸ।
Yeah. So who takes a loan from the World Bank? The Government of India, Ministry of Finance.
ਓਕੇ।
ਇਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਕੇਲ। ਤੇ ਅਜੀ ਸੜਕਾਂ ਬਣਾਉਣੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ it's not just roads, it will be the Punjab State Road Network,
at least one
At
state.
least.
Yeah.
or the National Highway Program for
Mhm.
India,
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ NH1 NH44.
Golden Quadrilateral.
Okay.
I actually worked on those programs when I joined the World Bank in India.
Okay.
So I started World Bank, I started working as a research analyst in Washington, and when
Okay.
I came to India, I started working on India's infrastructure programs, which were being developed by the World Bank. Like for example, the National Highway Program in India, the State Roads Project,
Mhm.
all state, Gujarat, Punjab, Karnataka. World Bank has done a lot. When we say state roads, we're not just building the roads, we are setting up a system, we are doing computerized modeling, we are doing, the World Bank is helping that kind of thing with the Public Work Department, with
Okay.
PWD.
Okay. Okay. Got
So
it.
if we bring it to a very simple level, I go to State Bank to get a loan, but here the Government of India, Ministry of Finance gets a loan from the World Bank and
yeah.
sends it to Punjab or to Karnataka or to Gujarat or anything.
Okay. So now you're working with Asia
Asia.
Development Bank. So what is the difference between World Bank and ADB?
So World Bank is the world.
Yeah, all the
and
countries.
all the countries, and ADB is Asia.
Hmm.
So ADB was set up in the 60s after Asia went through a huge financial crisis,
Okay.
and it was felt in the international community that an Asia-centric
Mm-hmm.
bank, which is Asian thinking, needs to be
Okay.
set up for just focusing on Asia. So Asian Development Bank works very similar to the World Bank, but it is not part of the United Nations. It is a
Okay.
Asia-centric. Totally, we just work in Asia.
I think maybe because Asia thinks differently than rest of the world.
Because Asia is so dense,
Okay.
and more than thinking differently, because what happens in Asia, because of its population, because of the how should I say, the diversity,
Mhm.
concentration of diversity in Asia, what happens in Asia influences the world.
Okay.
The decisions Asia takes matters. Yeah.
ਹੁਣ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਦੋ ਬੈਂਕ ਨੇ ਮੈਜੋਰਿਟੀ, ਇੱਕ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ADB ਹੈ। ADB ਫੋਕਸ ਔਨ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਹੈ, ਦੇ ਆਰ ਅਰਾਊਂਡ 67 ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼, ਰਾਈਟ?
67.
ਯਾ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ 'ਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ, ਐਨਵਾਇਰਨਮੈਂਟਲ ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰਿੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਚਰ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਮੇਰਾ ਸੀਗਾ experience thoda jaya India ch, but mostly in the US.
Okay.
I was a very young starting architect. Zyadatar I worked with some individual architecture. I will not say big companies, they se hi nahi hote, but they were small, but I learned a lot. But I also got an understanding of the professionalism in the, it's a still very small kind of how to say, not small, but different type of profession than engineering discipline. So it's more like to see a craft, if you want to take forward and you want to be a, like just really passionate about the designer part of it, it's okay. But I didn't really find that so exciting for me as a person. So yeah, there were, of course, there are many other things like personal, professional, challenges, and where I felt that I was not being able to find my steady ground नहीं मिल रहा सी मैंने.
Okay.
So I wanted to just instead of advancing my study in architecture and urban planning, I then diversified. Because also I think you have to be conscious of what's happening around you and find a way. That I think was very important at that
I
time.
think this is another learning for students. ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਗ੍ਰੈਜੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, we are very young to make a decision at the age of 17, right? ਆਪਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਫॉर ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਡਰਾਇੰਗ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਚਰ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਆਫਟਰ ਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਟ ਫॉर 2-3 ਇਅਰਸ, ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ 2-3 ਸਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ, ਆਈ ਇੰਜੋਏ ਸਮਥਿੰਗ ਐਲਸ, ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਯੂ ਪਿਵਟ and then you do some study and then you can change your career path as well. So it is good ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ 4-5 ਸਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਕੇ decide ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੋ, but ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ level ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ decision ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ.
I think you said a very good thing, a very valuable point of pivoting. I think pivoting can happen at any time. Any के भी ਤੁਸੀਂ हर 6 महीने pivot कर लो.
Yes.
But I think you need to really understand कि what value you are getting,
Yes.
and what value you are bringing,
Yes, right.
to your profession, to the place you work, and to also to yourself. So ये बड़ी एक, it's very individual. I'm not saying कि भी architecture ना करो, it's a great profession,
Yes,
please
definitely.
go for it. मैं अपना personal experience share कर रही हूँ, and these things happen. I mean,
Yes, even for me, I did computer science engineering. I can code, but I don't enjoy coding.
there you go.
Yeah,
So,
I enjoy talking to people, managing things, all of that. So I can be a product manager kind of a profile better than a software developer kind of profile.
But I must say, Amarjot, that what I learned in architecture, I was able to build
Yes.
in engineering, and I brought it all together. For me, I did such different work in the development. This whole area of development was new. And even at World Bank, I learned a lot. That the scale, I think it's very important to understand. Asite, we are too small. Sometimes we don't realize what's all happening in the world.
Right.
But that exposure was great. And when I joined the ADB, I was able to even do, of course, I had grown in maturity, hopefully, and some professional life, that able to do many more things with that kind of. But having said that, you have to be open to students. What I want to say, open to put things together,
Yes.
open to pivot,
Right.
but only after learning and giving yourself
Giving the thing some time. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗ੍ਰੈਜੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਹੈ, don't decide in 6 months ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ enjoy ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ. Work on it for 2-3 years. Even then you think ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ, I can do something else better. ਮੈਂ better impact ਕਿਤੇ ਹੋਰ create ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ growth ਵਿੱਚ better ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ. Then you should do it.
growth एक चीज है और दूसरा
जी.
income.
Yes, income.
Look, let's be practical.
Yeah,
I
we all
don't-
need money.
You need a good income,
Yes,
and we all want to have a certain standard of living.
right.
ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ personal choice ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ.
Correct.
So that's a very important thing I want to share with students. ਜੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੰਨਾ passion ਹੈਗਾ ਨਾ, that you are like ਬਸ, then you go for it. But you have to balance
Right.
everything. Passion follow currently, you also need to have income. So why not have an opportunity to do both?
Yeah.
So I think that's the choice I
Yeah, I think if your basics are settled, then you can think about passion a little more.
Yes.
ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਲਾਈਕ ਵੀ ਸੇ ਪੇਟ ਨਾ ਪਈਆਂ ਰੋਟੀਆਂ
ਹਾਂ।
ਤੇ ਸਭੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਖੋਟੀਆਂ, ਰਾਈਟ?
yeah
ਸੋ ਦੈਟ ਵੇਜ਼ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਘਰ ਸੈਟਲਡ ਹੈ, ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਆਲ ਦ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਦੈਟ ਵੀ ਨੀਡ, ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦੈਨ ਇਟਸ ਆਲ ਗੁੱਡ।
yeah
ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਆਪਾਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪੈਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬਟ ਫਰਸਟ ਗੈਟ ਯੋਰ ਬੇਸਿਕਸ ਰਾਈਟ।
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ at this high school level we are 17
Yeah.
18 years old. Listen to the guidance.
Right.
मैं ते one message I really want to give,
Mhm.
be open to guidance. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੀਗੇ 12th it was parents, uncles, aunties, grandparents,
Yes.
ਹੁਣ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ chat gpt google ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ, that also can be dangerous.
Yes.
Because Sanu, you have to be able to have the maturity to distill, to filter that.
Right.
So listen guide te again I want to come back ਕਿ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, I think it's very 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 meaningful ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ you are able to guide, mentor,
Yeah.
and finally of course ਚਾਹੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੋ ਚਾਹੇ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੋ, it's a personal choice.
Yes. So basically ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਦਾ motive ਹੈ, it's not only financial scholarships, because paise I think can be managed.
Absolutely.
You can take loans, you can take other scholarships from government and private scholarships, but if you are first engineer in the family, if you are first architect in the
Yes.
family, you are first doctor in the family, if you are the first person ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ World Bank ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, you need someone, right, who can tell you ਕਿ ਕੀ ਰਸਤਾ ਹੈ। So my next question is, ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਸੁਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਐਂਡ ਉਹ ਵਰਲਡ ਬੈਂਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ADB ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਸੋ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਾਈਲਸ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, ਕਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ?
So ਸਾਰੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ, because again for development you need all professions.
Yes.
But my one advice is ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਸ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਕਾਲਜ ਤੋਂ don't think ਕਿ you want to. Now when you understand ਕਿ ਵੀ World Bank is or ADB, or it's not just these two, okay, there's Europe Development Bank,
Okay.
there's European Investment Bank, there's
Mhm.
African Development Bank, there's the Islamic Development Bank, there's all kinds of development banks. What value will you bring to this conversation?
Oh.
What value will you bring to that ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ Ministry of Finance ਵਾਲੇ level ਤੇ you are sitting and talking with the Chief Secretary or Secretary or Joint Secretary, what value you will bring? They don't ever think ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਕਾਲਜ ਤੋਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਆਪ ਤੁਸੀਂ World Bank join ਕਰਨਾ. That's not my advice. I think ਤੁਸੀਂ grinding ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, you need to be in the field, you need to first understand what value I will bring. So careers at the World Bank and all of these ADB, they are like very very I think very positive, very challenging also, and there are multiple programs that one can join. My personal advice is to not join immediately,
Okay.
but give yourself a good exposure in your technical work so that you can say कि मैं जी I'm an environment engineer in water resource management and I do XYZ.
So
This
basically
is-
you need to find your niche.
Find your niche and then apply to these programs. There are multiple ways. There is the young professionals programs,
Okay.
which are highly competitive, but then the whole world is competitive, and after 12th grade children are going to be competing all their lives. So there are these young professional programs. They're very sought after on there, but worldwide I think there thousands of students apply and very few get selected. But there are other ways, like through consulting, through various programs that one and you watch their websites and there's different types of levels that one can apply at. So it's just literally knowing first that these things exist,
Okay.
and
Yes. Yeah, so basically I think ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਿੰਪਲ ਵਰਡਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੋਰਸ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ,
yes,
ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਯੂ ਸ਼ੁੱਡ ਨੋ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਦਾ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸੋਨੀਆ ਨੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵਾਟਰ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਐਨ এনवायरमेंट ਇੰਜੀਨੀਅਰ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਵਾਟਰ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਹਾਊ ਟੂ ਮੈਨੇਜ them। ਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫॉर ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ, ਸੋ ਆਈ ਡੂ ਇਟ ਬੈਸਟ, ਮੈਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ।
I can do this. For example, मेरा how I put it together. Water
Mhm.
resource was one example. For me,
Yes.
cities was a big thing
Yes.
because I
Urban
did
planning,
urban
yeah.
planning at CCA, and then I grew up in Bombay. I
Hmm.
grew up in India, and when you grow in maturity, when you enter the development sector,
Mhm.
your eyes open and more.
Yes.
Came, oh my God, this is what this means. This is the change I can make.
Hmm.
But currently you have to know ki what is the change you are going to bring. See,
Hmm.
give yourself 4-5 years of solid experience
Mhm.
in the sector, work in your profession. ਤੁਸੀਂ engineering ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ you work in engineering companies. But if you have this vision in your mind कि मैं जाना है World Bank, then you can set your trajectory backwards.
Okay.
Okay, I am working in this area. I'm a transport engineer. I'm whatever irrigation
Hmm.
engineer, electronics. आजकल ते what technology, artificial intelligence, everything. Everything has a place in development.
Yes.
But you have to know what you are going to bring to that table,
Yes.
and then you apply.
Okay. So another thing I want to appreciate about Sonia is कि जिन्ने भी professionals ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ, ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਟ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, they are not very soft spoken, I would say, and she is the most soft spoken individual I have met in that department, you can say. So what would you want to tell to the students, your 2 cents to students and parents in the end?
So my 2 cents, very hard because I'm also a mother.
Yes.
And my children, I think I will say the same thing. What I tell my children, be very open-minded and be very open to learning. You have to keep on learning. Yes, you have vision. Yes, you keep on learning. Take guidance. There is so much exposure that sometimes it's scary. But if you keep your mind, ask questions, keep your curiosity alive. You come back to me and say, I heard you that day. I have 5 other questions. I obviously to Amarjot in these 10 minutes, I cannot explain what the World Bank and ADB does.
Right.
Because it's like sometimes for a 12th grader, it's just too much to comprehend.
Right.
But when you Google, you will know. So, but I think 2 cents is keep your learning alive. Never stop learning. Be a lifelong learner. Never say ke hunte I have arrived. No. And never be in your comfort zone. Always try to find ke what direction should I go? Which path? This way, that way. So I'll stop.
Do you want to mention anything about backups that students
Yes,
should have?
that's another thing. Backup planning is very important, and today's fast-paced world, जितनी opportunities है उस तो जल्दी they can disappear.
Right.
So I myself with my children have gone through these, in my life have gone through these. US, layoffs happen. Just like that, you will get a pink slip on your table. These things happen in India also. Tech companies, we have heard. So creating a system for oneself, like by system I mean apni thinking process. I must always know what are my backup plans. Like, okay, if this happens, then what? They're now 12th graders. I don't know who's listening to us, 11, 12, maybe fresh graduates who just joined engineering programs or planning programs or whatever. At all times, keep your learning alive and keep thinking, what if? Not to be paranoid, not at all. Just be realistic. Be very practical.
I think if we think about worst case scenario, कि बात तो बाद की हो जाएगा, जे ये हो जाएगा, then I have this plan.
So I'm a living example of backup plans. If you give me 2 minutes extra.
Sure.
After architecture, I got out of architecture college thinking that, oh gee, I don't know what I'm going to do, create utopian cities. Just because you're a good student, I was a good student, I think. And, then it was a different time in the US, and I was thinking, सीधा brain चल रहा है जी, bachelor's के बाद master's के बाद you have to work, or even before masters you should be working. So when I started working in architecture and the exposure I got in the US, it was like, really, is this and it was a very volatile sector, because at that time in the world there was a recession. The real estate in the US was under recession. So that was the implication on this profession at that time. So I would also, lose my job, which I almost was on the verge of doing, not because of that I wasn't working hard enough, but there was no work. And you need an income, then what do you do? So backing up from there to the backup plan question, of course, you speak to your parents, you speak to family, you get guidance, you just look around and you say, okay, really, if it's so volatile and my personal choice is to have more steady income, should I pivot? And where should I pivot? And that was really my very realistic learning of backup plans are so important.
So it was, I think, very good advice for students. So keep learning, keep your learning alive, and then plan your backups well. I think बच्चे शायद पेरेंट्स से नाल है सुन रहे होंगे. So parents, as a parent, if you can advise something to the parents.
Yeah, so as a parent also, I'm always trying to strike the balance of these same issues. We have these same discussions at home. My daughter is just going now she's finished her 12th grade. We are having the same discussions at home. What you want to do, what is your passion, and what will give you the income to keep your passion alive. And it's okay to not have a passion also. It's okay to like 25 things, but let us make sure what we do it well. And this, what I really want to leave with students, create your foundations. This is the time to create foundations, and this is what I've told my children. After 12th grade, it's your building block. जिन्ना ਤੁਹਾਡਾ foundation broad होना है. When you fall, because one will fall, we don't know what type of challenges life is going to give us. You need to fall on your foundation. So you don't want to go this way. You want to go this way. So you have a good foundation and then you spring. So for parents, I know parents put their heart and soul in creating that foundation. So I think keep children's mind realistic, in terms of making that. I don't want to uplift any profession or downgrade any profession, but really whatever you do, make sure that that foundation is so strong and it gives your child the benefit of making those pivots that we talked about, and those backup plans that we talked about, whether your child wants to go into engineering, into STEM, or to economics, or to finance. Let's make sure that there's some building blocks, that you continue to study math, that you don't get scared from studying physics or chem. Don't not do something because I don't think I like it, or this is not me. But because you don't know who you are right now, you're only 17 years old, so you are still building yourself. So I think for parents, I really want to leave this message that please make sure that you are broadening the foundation for your child as much as possible. Yes, hand holding is important, but letting go is also very important. They have to have their own journey. So it's a difficult balance to keep, and sometimes, most often, parents are always on the wrong, but that's not to be taken in a negative way.
They want to have their children with them all the time if
that
possible.
is not the way. I think children, with the foundation point, I want to say that Jenny's strong foundation hoegi na, the letting go is also easier, because they have to have their journey. They have to have their own journey. They have to make their own mistakes, but you are there to help them to recover. They जितनी strong foundation होगी, their recovery will be faster, or their recovery will be stronger, because जेरे challenges आने we don't know.
Yeah, another last thing is for the parents who are educated, who had the chance to get themselves graduated and work in a professional field, and they are professionals. I think ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਆਏਗੀ what he wanted to convey. But ਜਿਹੜੇ parents ਨੂੰ chance ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਦਾ, due to any circumstances or their interest, so ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਕੋਈ message ਹੈਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ?
ਹੈਗਾ,
Yeah.
I think a parent is a parent.
Hmm.
You know, that comes first. Network, value of network ਵੀ
Hmm.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ,
Right.
and value of just informing yourself.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter how much you studied or didn't study, your worldly wisdom is so important.
Hmm.
And you are a parent, you
Right.
want the best for your child,
Right.
right? Let them talk to people. What I feel children don't do is talk enough.
Right.
They are mostly in that, you know, following this page, following that page on Instagram, looking at reels. You are getting bits and bits of
Hmm.
lot of information, and you're not mature enough to distill that. So those parents, I think that's where being a parent is
Mhm.
important. Just try to bring it together, talk more, expose your child to different areas, different professions. Unde
Hmm.
professions hi enne badh gaye, you know, like
Right.
when I was in college, it was 3 things that people
Hmm.
did. Now there's 35 things that you can do.
Hmm.
In another 2 years, there'll be 1,000 things that you can do. You know, everything has changed so much. So guide your child, open the world, and I think one message I really want to give is the value of network,
Hmm.
which I learned. We didn't grow up like that.
Right.
We didn't know, you know, कि network की ਹੁੰਦਾ है. Network is considered a bad thing. No, I think value of network is so important. If you start creating like your child and you, and then who you know, what do they do? Who you know, what do they do? It's like a spider's web, and you will not believe how many people your child will suddenly know of various types of professions just because you opened your mind to think,
Hmm.
okay, these are the kind of professions there are. This is the kind of chat we are having today. Like where you start from, what was your vision when you were 17 years
Right.
old, and what are you doing today? Am I happy? I'm very happy.
Hmm.
You know, do I have any regrets? I have no regrets because I learned.
Yes.
Could I have done something differently? Definitely, but that is after 30 years of insight and you know, lot of dhakka khawing and lot of experience.
Yeah.
So, but you have to have your journey.
Yeah. So I think it was a very good interaction with Sonia. Thank you for your time. It can be overwhelming for students. ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਫਸਟ ਈਅਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਦੈਟ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸਮਝ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਫਸਟ ਈਅਰ ਕਾਲਜ ਦਾ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਦੇ ਹੈਵ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਡ देयर ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡਿੰਗ ਬਟ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਰეკਮੈਂਡ ਕਰੂੰ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣੇ 12th ਪਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਯੂ ਕੈਨ ਗੂਗਲ ਇਟ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਚੈਟ ਜੀਪੀਟੀ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰੋ
Yeah.
ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਿਜ਼ਡਮ ਵਧਾਓ ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਅ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਕਰੀਅਰ
Yes.
ਲਾਈਕ
Yeah.
ਐਂਡ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਤਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲਸ ਨੇ ਦੇ ਆਰ ਇਨ ਲਾਈਨ ਵਿਦ देयर ਕਿਡਸ ਬਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਡੂ ਔਡ ਜੌਬਸ ਇਵੈਂਚੁਅਲੀ ਗੈਪ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਧ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ
ਬਹੁਤ
ਜਿਹੜੇ
ਵੱਧ
ਬੱਚੇ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਹੈ ਇੰਜੋਏ ਕਰ ਸਕੋ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਆਪਾਂ ਐਂਡ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ
Yes.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ.